Tier 3, as we show here, I mean, it's pocket passers, right?
Yeah.
C.J. Stroud, Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, specifically the pocket passers, and in that order, Stroud's QB7, Burrow's QB8, Dak is QB11. Jordan Love will give you, 2 or 3 points extra in rushing.
Yeah.
Each week he could fall into the end zone. He's QB9. Jayden Daniels is the complete outlier in this group, Matthew, at QB10, because his game is predicated on rushing, but he's a rookie quarterback that there could be some health concerns if he takes a lot of hits, but the upside's insane.
The upside is insane for Jayden Daniels. Right, the concern is a lack of weapons beyond Terry McLaurin, an offensive line that's unproven is a kind way to put it, an offensive line that's unproven, and then again, just sort of like he's a runner and he's going to be running a lot, but he's not built like Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts or one of these bigger, or Anthony Richardson. He's built more like Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson is somebody who has dealt with injuries, throughout his career because of how much he runs. So that's the only reason why Jayden Daniels will be there. But like Jayden Daniels, if we're a year from now, we could easily be talking about Jayden Daniels as a top 5 fantasy quarterback, as a top 3 fantasy quarterback. Like he's got 1,000 yards rushing in him. Like that's something he could easily do this year.
Jay, the top quarterback in this tier is C.J. Stroud. We know how special he is, specifically as a pocket passer. What does he have to do, though, to warrant? I mean, there's drafts where he goes as a top 5 quarterback. Yeah. Statistically, what does he have to do to warrant that selection? That's an expensive cost, as great as he is.
Yeah, instead of taking Stroud at QB5, I'd rather just bet on him at 12-1 to win MVP, because he's going to have to put up MVP-level numbers to warrant that kind of ADP. Yeah. So I think that with Stroud, I mean, the upside is just that he now has this completely loaded receiving core. He has an improving offensive line. And there is a chance that he is the 2nd or 3rd best quarterback in the NFL just on talent this season. I think the bearish case on Stroud would be that he played a lot of bad defenses last year, and he lit up a lot of bad defenses. And when he played the better defenses, he still played fine, but it wasn't nearly as impressive statistically. Think about that Jets game, Connor, where he really struggled against Baltimore in the playoffs. His receiving core was a bit diminished by that point. So it's just difficult when you don't use your legs that much. I don't really understand why he doesn't use his legs more, given that he's not super slow or anything. But it's just never really been a part of his game, and it just makes the margin for error a lot thinner.
Yeah, I'm with you all the way. And that kind of brings us to Joe Burrow, Matthew, because something that we've talked about on this desk is the cost is so different between these two, but there's a chance that the results are very similar.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a massive difference between C.J. Stroud and Joe Burrow and maybe Dak Prescott. I'm a little nervous about Dak Prescott just because, something were to happen to Lamb or Ferguson, they were also so ineffective. I want to shout out to Rich Rebar, Lord Reeves, who pointed this out. But Dak Prescott led the NFL in passes into the end zone, passes into the red zone, and by like a wide margin. And I think some of that has to do with how ineffective they were at running the ball. So if they're even better, slightly better at running the ball with Zeke and Rico Dowdle this year versus how they were with Tony Pollard, does Dak Prescott have the same kind of numbers that he did last year in a year in which obviously that now he's got, like, other than CeeDee Lamb and Ferguson, like it's Jalen Tolbert, it's whatever, 31-year-old Brandon Cooks, it's not a lot. So anyway, shout out Rich Rebar. But but I do think Stroud and Burrow, like, if Joe Burrow finishes with more fantasy points than C.J. Stroud, is anyone shocked? No, not at all. He's got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I just sort of feel like we talked about, in an ideal world, I get one of those tier 2 quarterbacks. In a one quarterback league, I get one of those tier 2 quarterbacks that's mobile. If not, I'm probably waiting for Jordan Love or Jayden Daniels, waiting a lot. But if I wind up with a pocket passer, I prefer Burrow at cost to Stroud. And honestly, as you'll see as we get here later, like, in the opportunity cost of a Burrow versus, say, a Matthew Stafford or a Kirk Cousins or a Jared Goff, pocket passers that are going way, way later, like, maybe it's 2 to 3 points a game, but that difference, I think, is massively made up for by the improvement in, wide receiver, running back that you'll get earlier in the draft.
Yep. I would say with Dak, this is a niche thing, but last year he beat up on a really weak schedule. He just beat up bad teams a lot, and he struggled outdoors against the good teams. And so 3 of the first 5 weeks for Dallas, they have to play at Cleveland, at Pittsburgh, and home Baltimore. Like, that is brutal. And so I think that there could be a world where people are just completely off Dak after the first 5 weeks, and then you try and trade for him at a lower value because it gets a lot easier.
And here's the other thing. I just want to talk about this. Like, this is going to go with me here for a second. But one of the things that I mentioned and people thought I was crazy about this, but one of the things I mentioned about Jalen Hurts when I was talking about him for my Ride or Die was I was just like, look at their schedule. Their schedule for and I forget what it was now, this is 2 years ago, but their schedule for like the first 6 games was ridiculously easy. I said, look, Jalen Hurts comes in this season where everyone's just like, Philadelphia is just a crazy sports town, and all the sports radio callers are saying, like, we should have drafted a quarterback. Jalen Hurts isn't a franchise guy. What are we doing? This guy can't win. I said, but then look at their schedule. They get out there. They start winning. I said, I think there's a very good chance. I think I said something like, I think there's a very good chance they're 4-2, they're 5-1 after their first 6 games. And once that happens, once they start winning, all the callers shut up. And all of a sudden now the entire team is rallying behind Jalen. Hey, we can win with Jalen. Hey, we're crushing people. And so there's it's confidence. It feeds into Jalen. It feeds into the team. It does permeate. Again, NFL players are human beings with emotions just like all of us, like with insecurities and pettiness and ego. And so I swing that around to Dak Prescott, who didn't get the deal this offseason, who, he sees CeeDee Lamb get paid. He knows Micah's going to get paid. So there's rumors out there that Jerry's just going to let Dak walk, that he's not going to pay him like the franchise quarterback that he is, that he wants to be paid at. And so he's got a lame duck coach in Mike McCarthy who wasn't extended as well. And, Dallas, like all Dak Prescott has heard over the offseason is like, once again, big moment, playoffs. What did Dak do? Awful game, couple of picks and a pick that should have had, and they got their butts kicked by the Packers. And so if they start out 1-3, if they start out 2-2 and he looks bad doing it, and the defense has to bail out, and all of a sudden the boo birds start going again, and this is why Jerry shouldn't pay him. We got to move on next year, blah, blah, blah. It just spirals, exactly. So Dak makes me nervous this year. I'm with you.
Yep. He's just not going to have as good a season as last year. You set the bar extremely high.
There you go. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.